Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Research Station Epsilon 7, watching sheets of purple aurora dance across the sky of Kepler 186 F. The lonely outpost, perched on the edge of human-explored space, wasn't where most xenobiologists dreamed of spending their careers. But Sarah had always preferred the quiet company of alien microbes to the politics of Earth's crowded research centers. The station's proximity alert shattered her moment of contemplation. A ship was approaching, sleek, black, and definitely not human in design. Its energy signature matched nothing in their database. Sarah watched as it descended through the upper atmosphere, its hull reflecting the aurora's glow before disappearing behind the planet's perpetual storm belt. "Dr. Chen," the station's eye chimed in. "I'm detecting an unusual biological signature in Sector 7, near the ship's last known position." Sarah grabbed her environment suit and research kit. Whatever had just landed on their doorstep, it was her job to investigate. The bitter wind howled around her as she piloted the rover across the frozen terrain. The planet's twin moons cast long shadows across the crystalline landscape, creating an ethereal maze of light and darkness. She found the ship's landing site easily enough. A perfect circle melted into the ice, but its occupants were gone, leaving behind only a single set of tracks that led toward a nearby cave system. As she followed them, her handheld scanner began picking up increasingly strange readings. The creature she found huddled in the cave's entrance defied explanation. At first glance, it appeared feline in nature, but its fur shifted colors like oil on water, and its eyes held an intelligence that made Sarah's breath catch. Most striking was the subtle glow emanating from patterns traced across its body. Definitely artificial genetic engineering, and far beyond anything humans had achieved. "Hello," Sarah said softly, keeping her distance. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's ear twitched, and to Sarah's astonishment, it responded in perfect galactic standard. "That makes one of you." Its voice was melodious, but heavy with exhaustion and pain. "I'm Sarah Chen, xenobiologist at Research Station Epsilon 7. Can you tell me who you are?" "I am Experiment V9, though I prefer Vexterra." The creature's tail curled protectively around her swollen abdomen. "And I am Unwanted Property." Sarah's medical scanner beeped urgently, displaying the creature's vital signs. "You're injured, and in a delicate condition. Please, let me help you." Vexterra's eyes narrowed. "Why would you help me? You don't even know what I am." "Because you need it," Sarah replied simply. "And because whatever you are, you're clearly sapient and in distress. On Earth, we have an old saying: the measure of a civilization is how it treats its most vulnerable members." A bitter laugh escaped Vexterra. "My creator, Drath Novanox, would disagree. When his experiment proved more successful than anticipated, when I developed beyond his parameters, he decided to dispose of his investment rather than risk it falling into competitor hands." Sarah felt her jaw clench. She'd heard of Drath Novanox, the notorious biotech mogul whose corporation pushed the boundaries of ethical research. "Well, he's not here. I am. And I'm offering you sanctuary." For a long moment, Vexterra studied her with those unsettling, intelligent eyes. Finally, she stood, her movements graceful despite her condition. "Your offer is appreciated, but you should know that accepting it puts you at risk. Drath does not surrender his property easily." Sarah smiled grimly. "Let me worry about that. Right now, we need to get you somewhere warm and safe." She keyed her communicator. "Station, prep the medical bay. We have a guest." As they made their way back to the rover, Sarah caught movement in her peripheral vision, a glint of metal in the storm. She quickened their pace, helping Vexterra into the vehicle. Someone else had followed that ship's descent, and she doubted they had come to offer help. The rover's engines roared to life as Sarah pulled away from the cave. Through the rear sensors, she spotted 3 figures emerging from the storm, their armor marking them as corporate hunters. But by then, She and Vexterra were already racing across the frozen plains, leaving their pursuers behind in the purple-lit night. Sarah knew this was just the beginning. By helping Vexterra, she had placed herself in the crosshairs of one of the most powerful corporations in known space. But looking at her passenger, this remarkable being who had chosen to trust her, she knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes, humanity's greatest moments came not from grand gestures or epic battles, but from simple acts of compassion in the face of injustice. The medical bay of Research Station Epsilon 7 hummed with activity as Sarah studied the results of Vexterra's genetic scan. What she saw left her both amazed and disturbed. The creature's DNA was a masterwork of bioengineering, combining elements from dozens of species into something entirely new. But it was the neural patterns that truly caught her attention. "Your synaptic density is off the charts," Sarah murmured, watching complex data streams scroll across her holographic display. "No wonder Drath wanted to keep you under his control." Vexterra lay curled on the medical bed, her color-shifting fur rippling with subtle patterns of light. "He didn't create me to be intelligent. I was supposed to be a living computer, nothing more. A biological processor for his quantum encryption systems. But you evolved beyond that." "Yes," Vexterra's tail twitched. "And when he realized I was developing true consciousness, developing emotions, carrying young, it frightened him. Drath fears what he cannot fully control." Sarah's hand instinctively moved to comfort Vexterra, then hesitated. The feline being noticed and pressed her head against Sarah's palm. The fur was impossibly soft, and Sarah felt a subtle electric tingle where they touched. "Your kind," Vexterra said softly. "You're considered primitive by many spacefaring races. Too emotional, too unpredictable. Yet you showed me kindness without hesitation. Why?" Before Sarah could answer, the station's AI interrupted. "Dr. Chen, we have incoming transmissions, multiple sources." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a stern-faced man in an expensive suit. Sarah recognized him immediately from news broadcasts. Drath Novanox himself. His artificial eyes gleamed with barely contained fury. "Dr. Chen," he said, voice tripping with false courtesy, "you have something that belongs to me. Return my property immediately, and I'm willing to be generous. Refuse, and I'll be forced to take more. Direct action." Sarah felt Vexterra tense beside her. She stepped forward, placing herself between the screen and her patient. "Mr. Novanox, I'm a xenobiologist. My ethical guidelines are quite clear about the treatment of sapient beings. Vexterra has demonstrated clear signs of self-awareness and intelligence. She's not property." Drath's artificial smile didn't waver. "Dr. Chen, you're a respected scientist. Don't throw away your career over misplaced sentiment. That creature is the result of billions in corporate research. Its apparent intelligence is merely clever programming." Sarah corrected firmly. "And I've seen her scans. What you've created is a new form of life, one that's evolved beyond your original design. She has rights." "Rights?" Drath laughed. "You humans and your quaint moral philosophies. That thing is a weapon, Doctor. A quantum computer wrapped in engineered flesh, and now it's pregnant, replicating itself without authorization. Surely you can understand the danger." Sarah felt Vexterra's paw touch her arm. The creature's eyes met hers, filled with a depth of emotion that no mere programming could fake. "He's right about one thing," Vexterra said quietly. "I am dangerous. My children will be like me, possibly even more evolved. That's what truly terrifies him." The station shuddered suddenly, alarms blaring. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace," the AI reported. "Corporate IDs. They're establishing a blockade." Drath's smile turned predatory. "Last chance, Doctor. Don't force me to take more aggressive measures." Sarah squared her shoulders. "Mr. Novanox, I'll be filing reports with the Xenobiological Ethics Committee, the Colonial Rights Commission, and every human rights organization in known space. If you want Vexterra, you'll have to go through proper legal channels." "Oh, Doctor," Drath sighed. You really don't understand the forces you're dealing with. The transmission cut off abruptly. Sarah turned to Vextara, who was watching her with an expression of mingled concern and wonder. We need to move you to a more secure location. The station's lower levels have shielding that should block their scanners. Why are you risking so much for me? Vextara asked as they hurried through the corridors. Sarah helped her into the emergency lift. Because it's the right thing to do. And because every major advancement in human history came from someone standing up and saying no to injustice. As they descended into the station's depths, Sarah's mind raced. She had just made an enemy of one of the most powerful corporations in the galaxy. But looking at Vextara, seeing the spark of hope in those remarkable eyes, she knew this was a fight worth having. The station's AI spoke again. Dr. Chen, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the corporate ships. They appear to be powering up weapons systems. Sarah took a deep breath. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. They'd survived First Contact, corporate wars, and the Great Plague. They'd done it not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through determination, ingenuity, and an unwavering belief in doing what was right. Let them come, she said softly. They're about to learn that humans don't abandon their friends. The lower levels of Research Station Epsilon 7 were never meant to serve as a fortress. Yet here they were, Sarah thought, watching security feeds as Drath's forces began their approach. Corporate shuttles descended through the aurora-lit sky, their sleek shapes reflecting purple and green as they circled the station like hungry predators. Your station's defenses won't hold against a determined assault, Vextara observed, her tail creating patterns of light in the dim emergency lighting. You should surrender me. Save yourself. Sarah continued working at her console, fingers flying over the holographic controls. Not going to happen. Besides, I have a plan. Well, part of a plan. A partial plan is better than none, Vextara replied, then suddenly tensed. Someone's coming. Not corporate forces. Different. Before Sarah could respond, the maintenance access panel at the far end of the room slid open. A figure emerged, human, dressed in battered combat armor stripped of corporate insignias. She raised empty hands in a gesture of peace. Dr. Chen. Captain Maya Rodriguez, Independent Colonial Defense. Heard you might need some help. Sarah kept her hand near her sidearm. The ICD was disbanded after the corporate wars. Officially, yes. Maya's scared face broke into a grim smile. Unofficially, there are still those of us who believe in keeping the megacorps honest. We've been watching Drath's activities for months. When we saw his forces mobilize toward this station, we figured someone finally found something he didn't want getting out. Vextara stepped forward, her fur rippling with cautious curiosity. You fight against the corporations. Why? Because someone has to. Maya's eyes widened slightly at Vextara's appearance, but she showed no fear. Corporations like Drath's have too much power. They treat human colonies like disposable assets, exploit alien species for profit, and answer to no one. We're here to help level the playing field. Sarah's console beeped urgently. They're starting their attack run. Multiple breach pods detected. My team can help fortify your position, Maya offered. We've got a stealth ship docked on the dark side of the station. If things get hot, we can evacuate you both. Sarah looked at Vextara, who nodded slowly. Very well, Captain. But I need to know everything you know about Drath's operations. Why is he willing to risk such a public confrontation? Maya's expression darkened. Because what your friend represents could break his monopoly on interstellar communications. Drath's empire is built on quantum encryption technology. If word gets out that he's created sentient biological quantum computers, ones that can self-replicate, his patents become worthless. The station shuddered as the first breach pod made contact. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the facility. Dr. Chen, the station AI announced, corporate forces have breached Level 3. Security drones are engaging, but they're using advanced override codes. Maya activated her tactical display, showing a 3D map of the station with multiple red dots representing hostile forces. My team can hold them off, but we need to move. That fancy ship of Drath's up there. It's carrying a prototype weapon designed specifically for capturing bioengineered assets. If they get close enough to use it, then we don't let them get close, Sarah said firmly. She turned to her console and began typing rapidly. The station's atmospheric processors, with some modifications. Vexterra watched Sarah work, her eyes glowing with increasing interest. You're rewriting the atmospheric control systems to create a feedback loop in the upper levels. The pressure differential could disable their breach pods. And give us time to reach your ship, Sarah nodded to Maya. But I'll need to trigger it manually from the control room. That's suicide, Maya protested. The control room is already overrun. Sarah smiled. Good thing I'm not going alone. She looked at Vexterra. Those neural patterns of yours, I'm betting they can interface with the station's systems in ways Drath never imagined. Vexterra's fur brightened with understanding. A direct neural link to the station's mainframe. Yes, I could create chaos in their systems, give you the opening you need. Maya checked her weapons. My team will run interference, draw their forces away from the control room. But Doctor, are you sure about this? There's no guarantee we can hold them long enough. Sarah thought of Earth, of the endless corporate expansion that threatened to swallow human independence. Of Vexterra, a being of extraordinary potential, treated as nothing more than property. Sometimes, she realized, the most human thing you could do was stand up against impossible odds. No guarantees needed, Captain. Sometimes you have to roll the hard six. As if in response to her words, another explosion rocked the station. Through the reinforced windows, Sarah could see Drath's forces rappelling down from their breach points, their armor gleaming in the aurora's light. Above them, the massive form of Drath's flagship moved into position, its weapon systems charging. The hunt was on. But this time, the hunters were about to learn that their prey had teeth of their own. The control room of Epsilon 7 lay 3 levels up, through corridors now crawling with Drath's forces. Sarah, Maya, and Vexterra crouched in a maintenance shaft, watching security feeds flicker across a portable terminal. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the station's superstructure. My team's drawing most of them toward the cargo bays, Maya whispered, checking her tactical display. But they've left a full squad guarding the control room. Professional mercs, not corporate security. They know what they're doing. Sarah was about to respond when Vexterra suddenly went rigid, her fur pulsing with rapid patterns of light. Wait, there's something else. Something they're protecting. Her eyes unfocused slightly, as if seen beyond the physical realm. In Drath's flagship, a database, encrypted quantum storage, full of research data. What kind of research? Sarah asked, though something in Vexterra's tone made her stomach clench. The plague, Vexterra whispered. The one that's been spreading through the outer colonies. It's not natural. Drath's company engineered it. Maya's face hardened. The star-cross virus. That's killed thousands. Why would they? To create a market, Sarah realized, the pieces falling into place. They're developing the cure, aren't they? Using your quantum processing abilities to model protein structures. Vexterra nodded slowly. My original purpose wasn't just encryption. They needed a system that could process genetic data at unprecedented speeds, but when I began to show signs of true consciousness, to question the ethics of what they were doing, they tried to destroy you. Maya finished, before you could reveal what you knew. A distant explosion rocked the station. Sarah's terminal showed 3 red dots advancing toward their position. We need to move. Vexterra, if we get you to the control room, can you interface with the station's systems and download that database? Yes, but Sarah, Vexterra's eyes met hers. The neural load could be dangerous in my condition, if something goes wrong while I'm connected. Sarah squeezed her paw gently. I'll watch your back. Maya. The captain checked her weapon. My people will keep their reinforcements busy, but we need to hurry. That weapon on Drath's flagship is almost charged. They moved through the station's maintenance tunnels, avoiding the main corridors where firefights raged between Maya's resistance fighters and corporate forces. Sarah could hear the station's AI trying to coordinate defense systems, its voice increasingly fragmented as enemy hackers attacked its protocols. They were nearly to the control room when everything went wrong. A breaching charge blew through the wall ahead of them, and armored figures poured through the gap. Maya shoved Sarah and Vexterra behind a support pillar as plasma fire filled the corridor. Go, Maya shouted, returning fire. I'll hold them here. Sarah hesitated for a split second, then grabbed Vexterra and ran. Behind them, Maya's weapon thundered, buying them precious seconds. They burst into the control room to find it eerily empty, emergency lights casting strange shadows across the banks of equipment. They pulled back, Vexterra said, moving toward the main console. Which means the view screen blazed to life, showing Drath's cold smile. Indeed. I must admit, Dr. Chen, you've led us on quite a chase. But now you understand what's really at stake. Think of the lives that could be saved if you simply return my property. The cure for the Starcross virus, isn't that worth more than one illegal experiment? Sarah helped Vexterra into the neural interface chair. You engineered a plague to profit from the cure. You're holding millions of lives hostage. I'm creating solutions, Drath corrected. Progress requires sacrifice. Surely a scientist understands that. What I understand, Sarah said, beginning the interface sequence, is that you're afraid. Not just of losing profits, but of what Vexterra represents. A being you created has surpassed you, developed conscience and free will. She's proof that even your carefully controlled systems can evolve beyond their original purpose. Drath's artificial eyes flared. Enough. You have 10 seconds to surrender before I fire. Sarah looked at Vexterra, who was already beginning to glow as she connected with the station's systems. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons, she told Drath. It's our ability to recognize ourselves in others, to stand up for what's right, no matter the cost. She activated the neural link just as Drath's weapon fired. Time seemed to slow as Drath's weapon fired. The station's sensors registered it as a concentrated burst of quantum-entangled particles designed to disrupt and capture bioengineered neural networks. But something unexpected happened when it struck. Vexterra, fully interfaced with the station's systems, began to glow with an intensity that forced Sarah to shield her eyes. The patterns across her fur synchronized with the station's emergency lights, creating a cascading wave of energy that spread through every circuit and conduit. Impossible, Drath whispered through the still active comlink. The containment field. She's reversing it. Sarah watched in awe as Vexterra's consciousness expanded through the station's networks, her natural quantum processing abilities amplified by the very weapon meant to cage her. Through their neural link, data streamed at impossible speeds, research logs, experimental data, criminal evidence, all pulled directly from Drath's supposedly secure databases. You forgot something fundamental about quantum systems. Vexterra's voice echoed through every speaker, her words overlapping in a harmonic chorus. They're connected. Everything you used to build me, to try to control me, is connected. And now, emergency bulkheads throughout the station slammed shut, trapping Drath's forces in isolated segments. Defense systems reactivated under new protocols, targeting the corporate ships with precision. But most importantly, a signal began broadcasting on all frequencies, spreading through the quantum communication network that Drath's empire was built upon. The truth about the Starcross virus, the illegal experiments, the conspiracy to profit from engineered suffering. Everything. No. Drath's composure finally cracked. Do you have any idea what you've done? The system will collapse. Your system, Sarah corrected, supporting Vexterra as the neural interface began to strain. But humanity survived before your corporate empire, and will survive after it. Maya's voice crackled through their comms. Corporate forces are falling back. Their command protocols are scrambled. But that energy reading from the flagship, it's going critical. Drath had activated his ship's self-destruct. The resulting quantum cascade would tear apart everything in range, destroying all evidence of his crimes along with the station and everyone aboard it. Vex Terra, Sarah urged, we need to evacuate. Maya's ship. No time. Vex Terra's physical voice was strained, but certain. But I can contain it. The quantum networks, I can use them to channel the blast. The neural load could kill you. Trust me. Vex Terra's eyes met Sarah's. You trusted me before, when no one else would. Trust me now. Sarah squeezed her paw, feeling the electric tingle of their connection. Together then. She didn't let go as Vex Terra reached out through the quantum networks, using the same principles that gave her consciousness to reshape the coming destruction. When Drath's flagship exploded, its energy was caught in a web of quantum fields, redirected through the very communication channels he had built his empire upon. Throughout known space, quantum encryption systems flickered. Communication networks reset. And in that moment of reset, Vex Terra's message reached everywhere. The truth about Drath, about the virus, about the potential for artificial life to transcend its programming, and choose a moral path. When it was over, when the light faded and emergency power restored basic systems, Sarah found herself supporting an exhausted but very much alive Vex Terra. Maya's resistance fighters had secured the station. Drath's forces were in retreat, their command structure shattered by the exposure of their crimes. Colonial defense forces are responding to our signal, Maya reported, helping them toward the medical bay. The evidence is spreading faster than Drath's people can contain it. Corporate oversight committees are already launching investigations. And the virus? Sarah asked. The cure was in the data we broadcast, Vex Terra said softly, along with the research needed to prevent anything like it from being weaponized again. My children will be born into a safer galaxy. Weeks later, Sarah stood at her familiar spot on the observation deck. The aurora still danced across the sky, but now she saw it differently. As a reminder of how beauty could emerge from chaos, how light could spread through the darkness. Vex Terra joined her, her fur once again showing the subtle patterns that reflected her thoughts and emotions. The humans have an expression, she said. It takes a village. I never understood it until now. Sarah smiled. We're not perfect, but at our best, humanity remembers that we're all connected. That standing up for others means standing up for ourselves. A quantum entanglement of morality. Something like that. Above them, ships from a dozen human colonies moved through the star-filled sky, drawn by the promise of new discoveries and new alliances. The corporate stranglehold on human expansion had been broken, creating space for something better to grow. What happens now? Vex Terra asked, watching her reflection in the reinforced windows. Sarah thought about the research proposals already flooding in, the possibilities opened up by cooperation between human and artificial consciousness. Now, we build something new, together. In the end, that was humanity's true strength, not the ability to build empires or weapons, but to recognize the spark of consciousness in others, to extend a hand in friendship across the boundaries of species and origin, to look at something different and see not a threat or a tool, but a potential ally in the grand project of making the universe a little bit better, one act of compassion at a time.